What's going on, guys? Manuel Godoy here for the first class for the year. All right, so we're going to be doing some classes during this coronavirus lockdown. I'm in New York, so I'm super locked down compared to you guys. But that doesn't mean that we don't stop working. And what we're going to be talking about today is basically what you're going to need in order to take this class. We're also going to be talking about what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. And we're also going to be talking about basically my story, like how I even got to this point. And it's kind of important that you need to know how I got to this point because as you progress from a writer to someone who's actually trying to live off your business, you're gonna have to understand that there's certain milestones you need to hit across the way in order to get that done. But for now, let's just talk about let's just briefly talk about the coronavirus because this is crazy. So my city's locked down. A lot of people up in Cali are locked down right now, mostly because it spreads like freaking wildfire. Uh, People said not to take it seriously, but you know what? Kind of need to take it seriously. Mostly because it's a respiratory. It's basically a respiratory virus, and there's a lot of people out here who got asthma and shit like that. And if you got asthma, you know, no matter how old you are, if you got asthma, you might have some serious problems with the coronavirus. So gotta watch yourself on that one. They said we're taking the precautions here, the kids, the wife, stocking up, making sure we got the supplies needed in order to ride this bad boy out. But you never know. That's why it's important to, stay safe. You say you ain't got to do everything they tell you, but at least do the bare minimum. You know what I mean? So, first things first. Let's talk about what we're going to be doing in this class. All right, so let's go and pull this bad boy up. First of all, boom, boom, boom. So this class is called The Publisher's Path. All right. This one is going to be very quick, very fast, right? Because I want to get into the questions part of this one right away. On Monday is when we're going to start really grinding. All right. But on today, we're talking about the syllabus. So first things first, let's go over here. Let me look at what I got. And we're coming over here. Boom. So week one, this is next week. All right. Week one, we're going to be talking about killing the logline, summary, and character identities. So next week, we're going to be focusing heavily on basically trying to flesh out our story. What's the story we're going to write? All right. And what I need you to do is this weekend, right? And you might want to write this down. This weekend, I need you to basically write your three favorite stories you were planning on making into an actual book. All right. So I know everybody has multiple ideas out there. Give me the top three. All right. Put them on a paper or a computer or whatever and have them ready for Monday. All right. These are going to be your top three. You need to just have at least three in your head so you can see what you really want to pursue as we get into the classes. You understand? So that's the first thing you need to be worrying about. The next thing is in week two, once we've done all that work to get our story set up, now we're really going to go into the nitty gritty of the book and go into the beat sheet. Now, the beat sheet is one of the most important documents you're ever going to create for any story you ever make. And almost all of you guys don't use the beat sheet. All right. So we need to start using the beat sheet. It's basically a blueprint of an entire story from beginning to end, including key points that have to be hit in order to have a successful story. So I think that's very important. You're going to really see the benefits of it as you use it. And once you figure out what your story is going to be, you might be able to choose which medium you're going to use. And for those who don't know what the word medium means, basically it's what type of book you're going to make. Maybe it's a regular novel, a comic book, a light novel, freaking early reader for kids, right? or manga, it's your call, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to decide that probably by the end of week 2. All right. And then lastly, week 3 is then we're just gonna be grinding. At that point, I'm gonna give some classes just to keep you motivated. But for the most part, you should be writing at least 1,000 words a day. All right, 1,000 words a day, every day. Boom, 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 boom. That's what you're gonna be doing. By 2 months, you should have enough to basically launch a book. You know, you should be able to launch a book in about 2 months. So we're gonna get all this done. Unlike last time where I was talking a lot about the business, I'm not gonna confuse you with the business side too much. Instead, what I'm gonna be doing is focusing heavily on the creative side early so we can get this book knocked out. You know what I mean? So before I go into the next slide, I want to know if anybody has any questions about this syllabus. All right, leave your questions on the right side and I will pull them up and address them real quick. It better be possible. You locked in the house. Let's say you might not be locked in like New Yorkers and Californians, but basically the economy is shutting down. So if you can't do 1,000 words a day at this point, well, you can actually go online and look up for a beat sheet anywhere. So you can get your beat sheet anywhere online. If you just put in the beat sheet, you're going to see a whole bunch of websites and what's it called? It's about the beat sheet. And you just go through that and you start plugging and playing. But I wouldn't worry about that right now. What you need to worry about is simply figuring out what kind of story you want to make, you know, which one you want to really dedicate your time to. Because once you make a decision, after the first week, once you make a decision, you can't change your mind. All right. One of the big rules I have about people when it comes to writing is don't change your damn mind. Finish the book. You know, everybody likes, oh, I got a different idea. Oh, I wanted to go a different way. That's why people never finish their books. You know, because they keep second guessing themselves. So so I wouldn't worry about the beat sheet for now. Let's focus on getting that one book that we think we're really gonna write, and then we'll worry about that afterwards. Let's see. Hatcher, 1,000 words a day, man. A day. That's 5,000 a week, give or take. You could probably pull 5,000 off in a day if you pull it off right. But for the most part, 5,000 a week is a good average, and you should be able to have a book done by 2 months. All right, 40,000 words, not too shabby, about 115 pages, give or take. That's not bad. That's a really nice book. Let's see. Good question. So are we working on 3 stories or just one? One. All right. You're working on one, but you want to at least think about 3. That way you can figure out what you want to do later on. When I go into the story part of this course, which is next week, I'm gonna be saying some things that's gonna be ringing in your head, and you might be thinking, you know what, I think this story is better for what I'm trying to do, and then you're gonna pick whatever story you feel is the best one for the task of making your first book. You know what I'm saying? So I say have 3 on your mind. I know everybody has at least 3 on their mind. Most of y'all got like 10 stories, which is wild. But you know, when people start off, they have so many ideas. So we need to narrow it down to the top 3. And then on Monday, we're going to make our decision on which one we're actually going to pursue. Let's see, what else? Does a graphic novel need to, wait a minute, I missed the question. There it goes. Does a graphic novel need 40K? No, absolutely not. 40K is for a novel. All right. Actually, a novella. A novella would be more appropriate for that word, but 40,000 is for a novella. Me personally, I say write 40,000 words anyway, just because if you're doing graphic novels, that's like 100 pages of a graphic novel. Like it's a lot of story being covered over 40,000 words. All right. Me personally, I like overperforming than underperforming, and getting into a habit of writing at least 1,000 words a day. All right, let's see. All right, this last question I'm taking before I move on to the next section. And this is, what if we already published our story as a coloring book and want to expand the story into a children's book before diving into writing a novel? What would you advise? I would advise stick to one thing. All right, children's books don't really require a lot of writing. So you can do that for absolutely no effort at all. Just straight up pay somebody and write a couple of sentences and make a children's book. But if you want to write a novel or an early reader or something like that, that's going to take a little bit more effort. That's what this course is for. This course is definitely not for like really young children's books, because children's books are so short that you really don't. There's no real effort put into how much writing you're going to do. It's mostly about how much your artist can can put emotion into the pages, and how sound how sound the marketing decisions of the book is. It has nothing to do with your writing skill at all. So children's books is a specialty item. You know, I wouldn't consider it any different from a painting. You know, it has a specific pace. You know, you either got it or you don't. All right, let's keep moving forward. Let's go to the next part. All right, so this next part, I want to tell you a bit about my story, right? Mostly because there's some people out here who might be in the first two categories, right? Create the product and fund subsequent products, right? But I want to go into detail about all these because this is where I've gone, right? All the way from the top to the bottom. And each one has its own milestones. And if you don't understand these milestones, right, you'll kind of get lost once you actually achieve something. All right. So let's go over the first one, right? The first thing we're going to do, what this course is about, is creating the product. All right. We're going to create a professional product, something that absolutely has to be done professionally, because it's hard to sell unprofessional work. It just is. So we have to make it look as if it was industry, even though it's not. That's not a problem. So long as we have at least some means, we should be able to pull that off, you know, and it should be just fine. The next step when you're an independent writer is funding the subsequent products. Most likely, most people it'll take a while before they sell their first 1,000 copies, right? It took me a while to sell my first 1,000 books, but I funded my next books before I ever sold a book. And the reason was because of Kickstarter, Patreon, WeFund, anything that you can raise money off of, you know, those platforms. You have to get used to that, and you have to get used to that very fast. So what happens is when you create your book, that book should be enough marketing material to basically launch a Kickstarter for the next book. And all you're doing is pre-selling that book plus some other items in order to create your next book. This is how most people continue to be creators, right? Because the goal is not to write one book. The goal is to keep writing for the rest of your life, selling books. And once you get to like 5 books, you should be able to live off of your books and no longer have to do 9-to-5 jobs, right? You got 5 books, you should be able to live off your work. You know what I'm saying? After that, you're going to try to get your 1,000 copies sold. In order to do that, you're going to have to go to a lot of shows, right? You go to conventions. You say, hey, I'm gonna sell these books directly to people. It's great stuff. But after you hit 1,000 books, you really need to start thinking, all right, now that I can sell 1,000 books and I can sell them kind of quick now, right? How do I make more money? Because at the end of the day, when you're first selling books at all, you're buying them at ridiculous rates. All right, you're buying them at like $5 per book, right, and selling them for 10. The margins are horrible, and there's not much profit in it because you still have to buy the location in order to sell your books. So controlling the cost is the next step after you found out that you can actually sell your books, right? So once we control the cost, and that's usually by buying in bulk, getting the cost significantly down, our next goal is to sell 10,000 books. Now, there's many ways to sell 10,000 books. Me personally, don't rely on going to shows in order to sell 10,000 books. Once you get to the point where you got the cost down, where you can buy a hell of a lot of books, you need to figure out how to sell online and sell online at a very high pace. All right. My typical thing is selling at least 200 to 300 books a month. That's what you should be doing once you get to this point. I'm gonna tell you right now, in order to get 10,000 copies, I'll say at least 2 years. 2 years to hit that. All right. It didn't take me 2 years, but I'm a special case. But most people, if you really try hard, you could sell 2,000 copies by the end of your second year if you really try hard. All right. And once you create the product, you said once you hit that, you want to expand your brand. So you're going to be creating products that are similar to yours, that complement your main product. Don't ever go and say, all right, I made a story about ancient fantasy, and now I'm going to make a story about children shooting space balls or something like that. Don't do that, because what happens is your original audience, you have to basically create a new audience from scratch instead of showing a new product to an existing audience. So think about that for a moment. When you're always thinking about side products, don't go crazy. All right. After you've done all that and you've done all this work to basically become a publisher at this point, you got to automate. All right. Now, some people have the ability to manage the entire everything. They can manage the marketing. They can manage the logistics. They can manage the writing. They can manage the buying. They can manage the shows. They can manage all these things they're managing, right? But eventually, once you get to this point at automate, you better figure out a way that you no longer have to do the shipping, that you no longer have to do the marketing, that you no longer have to do the logistics. If you can't get those responsibilities out of your hand, it becomes almost impossible to write. You understand? Because you're trying to grow. You ain't got time. You do not have time to do all the work yourself. I know it seems like you'll save money, but it'll cost you a lot more money in the end because you can't do anything. Once you get to raise capital, that's when you hit the big leagues. All right. That's what I did. I raised $500,000 for 10% of my company. You know, I did that because I wanted to grow as fast as possible. I can't wait for everybody else. Too much comfort in the industry. So I'm trying to move forward. And now my next goal, what I'm trying to hit, is 50,000 copies sold. I got 15K more to go. So about 15,000 more to go, and I'll hit 50K. So I'm happy about that. But this is the path. This is the path. If you want to look at the path of what to inspire yourself, look at this. Look at this slide right here. Look at it and check it out for yourself and say, hey, this is my path. What milestones what do I have to do to hit these milestones all the way down until I become a big dog at the very bottom? You know what I'm saying? Now, opening it back up to questions, and then I'm going to be going into what you're going to need for the course, for the next couple of classes. Do we have any questions about this section before I move forward? All right. What major conventions should we put on our list? Me personally, I do not believe that you should be trying to get major conventions. The word of wisdom is this: try local conventions at first, local comic or manga conventions or whatever kind of conventions you can find locally, just to get an understanding of how you fit in with the competition, right? Once you realize your identity and how you need to display yourself and everything else, then you should try to apply for the bigger shows. Medium-sized shows might let you in. The big shows definitely won't let you in. They just don't. So what happens is you got to build your repertoire. You have to show that you are worthy of even being considered by the big shows. And once you've proven that at the medium-sized shows, and we're talking about shows like MomoCon or Anime NYC, they're medium-sized shows. They're not too big. They're not small either. And once you get to those shows and you can consistently get into those shows, you might be able to get into the big shows like New York Comic Con, Emerald City, Dragon Con. All right. But it's very, very hard to get into those spaces, you know, because literally everybody's trying to get in those. So that's usually how I work with that one. You talked about buying books. What did you mean? All right. So I'm a big believer in buying my books as opposed to doing print on demand. One thing I would caution everybody is this. It's a lot easier to sell 100 books at a show, right? 100 books at a show is 10 times easier than selling 100 books on Amazon, print on demand. Do you understand? It probably costs less too. He said you can do print on demand, but if you're not a hell of a marketer online, it's really hard to sell online. I could sell online because I have a massive social media following, but even still, I don't even use print on demand. So when it comes to selling books, I always say buy your books and then sell them. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what we got here. So do you do both the writing and the artwork of your comics? No, I don't. And I advise everybody to not do the same. I always say pick a niche and stick with it. So if you're a hell of an artist, find a writer. If you're a hell of a writer, find an artist. All right. And if you're an average artist, find an artist. All right. One thing we all need to learn, and I've seen a lot of people who graduated from my course last year, some of them made comic books or they made novels or whatever, but they did the art themselves. And personally, it's just not going to sell next to another person's book because it's not comparable. So we have to be careful about that. You know, we have to really think, is my art really fly? If it is, then kill it. Do the art, you know? Well, Gambit, what's involved in automation? It's like for instance, for me, I don't mail packages anymore. So I don't mail anything. What I used to do, and this is about 2 months ago, I used to, whenever I get orders, I used to actually like pack them here, do all things, drive down to USPS with all my packages and drop them off. And it used to take hours sometimes because in January, I had over 1,000 orders. So it would take hours upon hours, sometimes days of packing and packing and packing and packing and packing, all to fulfill some orders. Now I pay a service like Fulfillrite to ship my books. They just ship everything. They pack them, they ship them, they handle everything. I don't do a damn thing anymore. I don't do no packing. I don't do no nothing, you know? And what it does is it saves me maybe 20 to 40 hours a month, right? And sure, I might pay them $2,000 in the month, right? $2,000 over the entire month for packages, probably have like 1,000 orders throughout the month. But the whole point is by paying them $2,000, that 40 hours is worth way more than $2,000 to me. Way more. You know, I can get a lot done in that time period. So this is the things that we're talking about automation, you know, marketing. Are you a hell of a marketer? If not, you need somebody else to do it, unless you want to be on Facebook and Instagram all day, every day, sending stuff out, trying to get likes. That's what automation is. You know, it's getting somebody else to handle a very specific and important task in your company. Okay, let's see. Do you have to be indie offer first to become an indie? Let's go back to that one. I want to get that question. Somehow I missed it. What the heck happened here? Let's see. I can't find that damn thing. Okay, there we go. This is an interesting question. Do you have to be an indie author first to become an indie publisher? Absolutely. Well, no, not necessarily. If you could somehow convince people to allow you to publish their book, I guess you could become an indie publisher without being in the offer. Me personally, I think it's kind of important that you can prove that you can sell your books before you try to sell somebody else's books. You know, like if I say, hey, come sign with my company at Black Sands, they're gonna be like, well, what can you do for me? And I'll be like this, well, I sold 35,000 books of mine. And if somebody buys at least 1 out of every 5 customers also buys your book, you're gonna make a crap load of money, right? And that's an easy argument to make, right? So you gotta have some kind of stats behind you in order to convince other people to let you publish for them. But that's the only thing, you know. You don't have to be in the offer in order to be an indie publisher. Let's go. What's this question? Can you try with Patreon and other similars? I need context on that one. I don't know what that means. Let's see. How difficult is it to write for an animation? As far as how manga translates to anime, seems like the story translates to cartoons, animes pretty well. Well, graphic novels don't require much at all to transfer. I mean, they're already visual. So most storyboard artists can just look at that and just make a storyboard, you know, maybe change a few things, but for the most part, transition it to an animation. You shouldn't have to rewrite a comic book in order to make an animation. Now, can you afford an animation? That's a whole nother thing. Let's see. Okay, what are the best platforms to publish a comic book? Sell them directly to customers. You can try a platform. Comixology, nobody has success on Comixology. Webtoons requires 10,000 years of work. That's about it. Everything else is just selling directly to customers. You know, I don't necessarily have a lot of faith in doing that, doing the Webtoons or Comixology path. So that's all y'all. All right, I see. Birmingham, work to the Bush, blah, blah, blah. What would a good price range be? Books? Different step in the class. Or am I right? Assuming that I'll be focusing on crafting, which I believe is too much more. Okay. Will we be learning different steps in this class, or am I right in assuming we'll be focused on crafting, which I believe is most important? Yes. This class is going to be focusing heavily on just getting that first book out. You know, I want you to get that first book out, and I want you to do it professionally. You know, I don't want you guys doing terrible books or doing amateur books. There's a couple of things that I'm going to show you that's very important. These are the things you need to spend money on. But if you spend money on them wisely, right, then you'll be able to actually write your stuff correctly and have a really professional book. It doesn't matter if it's a good book. If it's simply professional, people will buy it. All right. You could have an average sci-fi book, and because people simply like sci-fi and your book looks professional, they'll support you. You got to understand that. So professional is the most important thing. Everything else is secondary to a professional book. All right. Let's see. All right. I'm a 13-year-old and I have brothers, and my dad showed us this. How can we go about our books? Well, don't worry about it. I'm going to be giving special information for all ages. Look, you're 13 years old. You can definitely handle this class. All right. You might not be able to do exactly what I say as far as like how much work I'm going to be asking for. But if you just do, just do the basics of what I'm asking for, you should be able to finish your book. And I'm glad the young ones are in this as well. This was intended for high school kids. So that's good. All right. You're going to enjoy this class a lot. I'm going to be doing a lot of manga and comic references, and I'm sure you're going to love that. All right, let's go to the requirements. So the requirements are pretty simple. You know, basically, no matter what, you have to buy this book. All right, Save the Cat. Save the Cat is 100% mandatory. It's a great book. It's most important for writing stories. All right, you're gonna write stories. As a matter of fact, wait 1 second. I'm gonna show it to you. I got it back here. So basically, you can either get Save the Cat, which is the one about screenplays, or you can get this one right here, which is Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Let me show you to you real quick. Boom. So right here, Save the Cat Writes a Novel. Now this one, I'm gonna be honest with you, this one's a little confusing. All right. First of all, this book assumes that you read the original Save the Cat. So if you get this one by yourself, it might be a little confusing. Me personally, I say buy the original Save the Cat, the screenplay version, and you're gonna love it. It's gonna teach you absolutely everything there is to know about how to craft a story, and we're gonna be using that as a reference for our courses. All right, so we're gonna be using some of the information in there in order to craft our stuff. All right. Additionally, if you don't know, if you are already a fan of ours and you already have our stuff, that's cool. Read Black Sands. The reason why I say read Black Sands is because there's actually a lot of content of it now. And what I'm an expert at is hooks, having people hooked. So if you read the end of any issue of Black Sands, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, I have to read the next issue now. You absolutely have to read the next issue, you know? And that's important that when we're crafting our stories, we basically make sure that someone has to continue. This is even important on a micro level. So if you're making a novel, you don't end chapter one with, and we started our day doing this, right? And that was the beginning of my exciting adventure. You don't do crap like that. The end of chapter one better be something absolutely catastrophic because we want to make sure that they keep reading. You got to be an expert at this, closing hard and closing strong. All right. So these are the two things that you want to probably be looking at. Save the Cat is 100% mandatory. Black Sands is optional. Most of you are people who follow me and already have my books and already read my stuff online. So whatever, right? Just go and relook at it. Look at it again and look at the actual like plot points that we have. I have a beat sheet for the entire season of Black Sands in my thing. I actually have a beat sheet for a whole bunch of properties that we're developing here at Black Sands, and it's important for you guys to be able to do that as well. Now, I'm going to open it up lastly to everybody to just simply ask questions. You can ask any questions at all. I don't care. I'll be here for I'd say about 10 more minutes, and then we're going to call it a day. This weekend, remember, 3 major stories, whatever 3 you like, whatever 3 that's on your mind that you always wanted to go and write into a story, get those ready, all right? Get those ready because on Monday, we're going to start grinding, all right? We're going to start grinding on Monday, and it's going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. No need to share the slides. This is pre-recorded. So what happens is Well, it's not pre-recorded, but it's automatically recorded. So after this class, it's going to automatically upload on the YouTube channel. So you can just go back and just, go to whatever second the slide was on. Let's see, what else? Are we aiming for a certain number of pages? You're aiming for a certain number of word count. All right. I want 1,000 words a day starting week 3. All right. So week 1 and week 2, we're just perfecting our craft. Week 3, we've perfected absolutely everything. We've made sure we know exactly where our story is going and what our plot points are. And now we're grinding. Week 3, we are grinding and grinding nonstop. All right. How long have you been working on Black Sands? Are you still writing it, or have you wrapped up the story? The story is still going. It's going to be going on for a long time past this point. Like it's a never-ending story. As far as like, I probably won't be able to finish it anytime soon. These kids, before they even grow up, have like freaking 5 arcs before that happens. Hopefully, we can start accelerating big time when it comes to as we get more capital and we start really getting into animation. Hopefully we'll start moving a lot faster then. But for now, we're doing about 3 issues a year. The issues are expensive to produce, so it takes a long time to actually produce them. Regarding the previous question, what I mean before is, if you can try to sell your ebooks or comics in Patreon or other similar websites, yeah, you can. It's possible. I wouldn't doubt it. Me personally, it's not something that I really care too much about. It's definitely something that you should do, but I don't trust sales for ebooks. I've never seen many people ever have like real success at it. So I kind of discourage it, especially for beginning writers. You want to get that book in someone's hand, right? It's a lot easier to sell it to them. Let's see. Whoa, a lot of comments. Okay. Where are those comments at? High school kids are allowed to take this course as well. This course has been intended for both. So what happens is we're going to use a lot of manga and anime and comic, what's it called? References, right? So those younger kids, right, they're not going to be bored of this class, and they're actually probably going to get a little hyped and learn how to write stories themselves, how to make their own mangas, how to make their own comics. So I definitely encourage them to be here, right? And I think they're going to have a lot of fun, and most importantly, they're going to learn how to manage a project from the beginning to the end. I think that's very important. Let's see. What's the last step after raise capital? Can't see it. The question slides are covering up. Okay, so the last thing was sell 50,000 books. So it's just a goal. It's just something to like reach. It's not really, once you get to that point where you're automating things, you really got to sell a lot of product. You got to sell it fast. So that's what we're doing. Will this class also teach us how to draw our own characters that we create? No. This class is not a drawing class. It's about writing. So there's a lot of courses online for how to draw properly. Me personally, I hire artists. Just hire artists. They're not that expensive. Let's see. What about Save the Cat Strikes Back? I haven't read it, so I don't know. If it's Save the Cat, it's probably good. They're probably just make another book just to go and sell more books. You really only need Save the Cat, the original one. Do you need the book for a class? Absolutely. Just get the ebook if you need to. Just buy the ebook online. Save the cat. It's just as good. It's important though. It's extremely important. Let's see. Can you share the log line for Black Sands? Let me see, because I haven't said the log line in a while. Let's see. Um, okay, I got it now. I remember now. Okay, I haven't been to a show in so long. Stupid coronavirus and everything keeps canceling. All right, so Black Sands is a story about ancient Egyptian mythology following the rise of Osiris. Uh, a war breaks out between seven kingdoms, and now it's up to him and his kin to save the world, or something like that. I'm trying to think of what it is. What's it? It wasn't that. You said, uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so Black Sands is a story about ancient Egyptian mythology found in the rise of Osiris. Uh, Osiris is trying to prove to his grandfather that he has what it takes to become the next pharaoh, but a war breaks out between seven kingdoms, and now it's up to him and his kin to save the world. That was the original log line, you know. And we changed things up a little bit, but for the most part, that was the log line that we used for our story. And it's very simple. You got to explain what the main character's motivations are and the overall a story, right? What's the main story of the story? But that's not what's going to sell it. You got to sell the actual emotional connection of the main character. So the main character is trying to prove to his grandfather that he could be the next pharaoh, right? And this opportunity that damn near the world's about to end is his chance to go and prove it. Right? Let's see. Can I sell a lot faster if I have a big budget? I don't think budget has anything to do with selling faster. You have to learn how to market properly. With me, I can do an ad and spend $100 on the ad, right, and get like 40 clicks, and it just be a terrible performing ad. Or I could do an ad, spend $100, and get like 600 clicks. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on your marketing skills and how you message things, who you're trying to sell to. Budgets don't matter at all. They really don't. I'm sure it's just fine. If you have a third one, I think that's fine. Uh, how many weeks will I be teaching this course? Most likely 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Because after the third week, you should just be in a grind. Like I'm gonna probably check in 2 months, and y'all better have y'all book done because I'm gonna be checking on that. But third week, I'm letting you go on pasture. You can do whatever you want at that point because you should have all the tools necessary to just obliterate that book and be ready to launch. All right, this guy's annoying. Let me go and get rid of. There we go. Boom, he's gone. All right. Now I can see other people's messages. Let's see. I discovered Black Sands via Webtoons. Are you no longer on Webtoons? If not, why? Was publishing on Webtoons a difficult experience for you? I was featured on Webtoons a whole bunch of times. I did. I was featured there. However, I never got a true feature, which was them actually paying me to make content and me constantly putting content on there. So after a while, and I started realizing that the algorithm was very biased toward romances, I left the platform. And then I raised $500,000 last February, so like a month ago. And we're developing our own app now for Black and Brown creators. And the app is going to be very similar to Webtoons, but it's going to be exclusively for us. So I'm developing it myself. I already funded it. I have $250,000 toward that budget, and we're going to freaking launch it in December. It's going to be dope. Let's see what else. What is the best way to send me money? Well, you don't have to send me money, but if you do want to send me money, just go to Patreon. All right. So that right there, patreon.com/blacksands, and become a Patreon member. It's like $20 a month. You get all my comic books. You get insider contacts with me on Discord, so you can go and contact us directly, ask questions. Try that. All right. Do you recommend a comic book series or a graphic novel? I have a long graphic novel and a comic book series ready, and I'm unsure which to start with. Just pick one. Graphic novel is nothing special about a graphic novel that makes it any different from a comic book. The only difference is comic books come in trades. So every now and then you can get 1, 2, 3, 4. And a graphic novel, if you want, you can just combine 1 through 6 and make it into one big book. But it's still considered, there's no difference between that and the comic books. The only difference is you can actually sell issue 1 before you're done writing the entire graphic novel. You understand? So you can start recovering your funds by making comics, and then combining them all into one big collection. All right. So me personally, especially since it's your first book, do comics because they're shorter. You can start recovering your cost faster. And by the time you're done all the way to the end of the thing, you can just combine them all together and sell that one big giant book as trade. Paradigm, no, but you need to help him. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I have no problem with 13-year-olds taking this course. That's not a problem, especially right now in the coronavirus. That's why we have this course. So they can attend. All I'm asking is that you help them along the way. All right. There's some things that might be a little over their heads. So just help them, and they should have no problem. If you're helping them, they should have no problem. Yeah, I don't care how you read it. Just read it. You can probably borrow it from somebody. I bet you somebody has it. What's the biggest promotion marketing tip you can give? I really don't have any. It comes naturally over time. So once you get used to getting people to take action or say something or whatever, you'll it's all based on your personal message. It's different for everybody. How are you getting staff from major studios working for you? All right, this is probably stuff like Turnus, right? Turnus, he's worked with Braun, Pixar, Disney, and all the other things, right? So you're like, how did we get him to be the head of studio for our company? Well, the answer to that is the numbers. We have the best numbers in the nation right now. There's not a single independent publisher out there who's doing as much sales as we are, who can raise as much money as we do. You understand? Most of these people have to get on TV or whatever just to even get close to where we're at. And we don't have any TV coverage. We don't have any media coverage or anything like that. It's just straight grassroots. So that's why I can get people like that to join us because they see, think about it this way. You go up and you're like, hey, I want to make my own show, right? But they're like, man, but I got to raise so much money. How the hell do I do that? And what they're thinking is, all right, since I can't raise my own money, I got to find somebody who can raise money, has a great product, right? And I'm going to use my experience and my connections to build a team full of elite professionals. All we need is capital. We need somebody who can bring the capital, who's not going to do a deal with Hollywood, because once you do a deal with Hollywood, you have no more control. So Turnus came to me, and my first task was to raise enough money to make our animated pilots. That was the task. I had to raise big money. The last time I raised money, I raised $50,000 for my DVD. My next task was to raise $500,000. Do you understand how big of a task? That's 10 times what I originally was supposed to raise. All right. So I raised 10 times what I've ever raised before, and I did it in 3 weeks. All right. I did it in 3 weeks. I did it so damn fast, it was ridiculous. And when that happened, basically Turnus was sold. There's nothing I can do right now to get him to not work on Black Sands nonstop. You know, he ain't even getting paid. He's not getting paid yet for any of the work he's doing on Black Sands. He's only getting paid later on once we have like the full budget for the whole show. Right now, he's just in it because he thinks that it's going to blow up one day. You know what I'm saying? So, but the whole point was I had to prove that I was who I said I was. Because anybody can say, oh, I'm going to make this awesome show. But can you really raise the money needed to make an awesome show? You know what I'm saying? And we have the power. We have the parents and the Black influencers and stuff out there who really believe in the message of Black Sands, and we're doing it ourselves. So that's how we get these really professional people to join us and stay with us. It's because we keep knocking the numbers out. We just kill it. We don't. There's no failure in our day. All right. Well, that's it for you guys. I'll see you on Monday night. All right, Monday night at 8 p.m. If you want to support me, feel free to go to my Patreon. Right. If you want to support me, just go to patreon.com/blacksands. But you don't have to. It's totally non-mandatory. This is just a service I'm doing because of the coronavirus, basically keeping almost all of us in our houses with absolutely nothing to do. So let's write that first book, okay? Black Sands out, and I'll see you later.